There are moments in life that seem ordinary until you realize they quietly divided everything into a before and an after. This is one of those moments. The fact that your eyes have found these words is not simply another event in your day. It reflects a sequence of invisible alignments that have been moving long before you became aware of them. Forces that cannot be measured by logic alone have been guiding your path with remarkable precision, carrying you through countless possibilities until you arrived here, exactly now, somewhere beneath your thoughts, beyond every explanation your rational mind keeps searching for. A deeper part of you already recognizes this truth. It has been waiting for this encounter, even if you could never have explained why. Before allowing your attention to move any further, become aware of the quiet space inside yourself. Notice the feeling that cannot easily be described, the subtle sensation resting behind your heartbeat, the almost silent certainty that these words somehow belong to your own journey. That feeling is not fantasy, and it is not coincidence. It is the return of something your soul has always known, but temporarily forgot while navigating the noise of everyday life. If recent weeks have left you questioning your direction, if nothing seems to satisfy you anymore, if an invisible current has been pulling at your emotions without offering any obvious reason, then remain here. What begins with this moment has the potential to reshape everything that follows, and if something inside you has already begun to stir while listening, do not dismiss that reaction as wishful thinking. Honor it. Let yourself become fully present, because experiences that transform a life rarely announce themselves with certainty. They arrive quietly, asking only that you recognize them before they disappear beneath distraction. The 4th day of July is far more than another page on the calendar. It represents a crossing point, a secret passage standing between the life you have been living and the reality that is preparing to reveal itself. While countless people become absorbed in celebration, noise, and visible expressions of freedom, another movement unfolds beneath the surface where few choose to look. At this very time, the moon begins its entrance into Pisces, carrying with it an energetic transition that reaches far beyond ordinary emotional change. The moon has always reflected the hidden tides of your inner world, guiding memory, instinct, vulnerability, and the language of your subconscious. As it moves into Pisces, those hidden waters begin expanding with remarkable intensity. Pisces is not merely another sign within astrology. It is the symbolic ocean where boundaries disappear, where intuition speaks louder than certainty, where dreams mingle with waking reality until both become impossible to separate. It is the place where illusion slowly melts away, allowing truth to emerge from depths that have remained untouched for far too long. It is also the landscape where extraordinary transformations first take shape, where unseen possibilities become living experiences, where entirely new versions of your future quietly begin forming before they ever become visible in the physical world. Yet there is something important you must understand. This energy does not arrive gently. The entrance of the moon into Pisces is not like a soft breeze that lightly brushes past your awareness. It resembles an overwhelming tide that rises without asking permission, washing over every illusion you have depended upon until only authenticity remains standing. Whether you consciously welcomed this process or resisted it, it has already begun working within you. You have probably noticed its fingerprints, even while trying to explain them away. A persistent restlessness refuses to let you remain comfortable where you once felt secure. Emotional waves appear unexpectedly, rising from nowhere before fading just as mysteriously. Certain moments bring astonishing clarity, only to be followed by uncertainty that leaves you questioning everything again. Even your dreams may have become unusually vivid, carrying symbols that linger long after you wake, refusing to be forgotten. Somewhere inside, a growing awareness continues whispering that something meaningful is approaching, something capable of changing the direction of your life, even though you cannot yet define its exact shape. None of this points toward instability. It points toward preparation. The transformation unfolding today did not suddenly begin with this date. Your energy has been gradually shifting for far longer than you realized, while the universe quietly rearranged circumstances beyond your immediate awareness. At first, the adjustments were almost impossible to notice. Later, they became more visible. Now they seem to be happening everywhere at once. Relationships may have faded despite your efforts to preserve them. Situations that once appeared dependable may have unexpectedly fallen apart. Carefully built plans may have changed direction without offering any explanation. At times, the entire experience may have felt painfully chaotic, leaving you wondering why stability kept slipping away whenever you reached for it. Yet beneath every uncomfortable ending, something profoundly intentional has been taking place. You have not been abandoned. You have been cleared. Every attachment that no longer reflected your authentic path has gradually been removed, because what is waiting ahead cannot fully enter a life still occupied by energies that no longer belong there. This is the nature of Pisces. It does not seek permission from logic because its wisdom exists beyond logic itself. It gently dissolves every mask that has hidden your true identity. It exposes illusions you unknowingly accepted as permanent reality. It brings you face to face with truths you may have avoided for years, never to shame you, never to punish you, but to free you in ways your conscious mind could never accomplish alone. Many people spend their entire lives believing that miracles arrive only after every problem has been solved and every uncertainty disappears. They wait for perfect circumstances before expecting transformation. Yet this energy teaches the opposite lesson. The greatest breakthroughs often appear only after everything built upon illusion finally collapses. Pisces draws your awareness into the deepest chambers of your own being, not to overwhelm you, but to uncover everything hidden beneath the surface. Old emotional wounds that never truly healed begin asking for acknowledgement. Fears buried beneath years of distraction slowly rise into consciousness. Desires you convinced yourself to silence begin speaking again with unexpected strength. Dreams you once abandoned quietly return, reminding you they never completely disappeared. The moment you stop running from these forgotten parts of yourself, something remarkable begins to happen. Their control over your life weakens. What once felt impossible to face gradually loses its power. The experience may feel frightening because familiar identities begin dissolving, yet at the same time, an undeniable sense of freedom starts emerging from within. Perhaps even now, there is an area of your life that appears to be unraveling before your eyes. Something you believed would always remain solid has begun revealing unexpected cracks. Someone you depended upon may no longer feel the same. A situation that once offered certainty now feels strangely unstable. The discomfort is real and the sense of loss can feel overwhelming. Yet what you are witnessing is not meaningless destruction. It is an extraordinary process of divine reordering, unfolding with a level of precision that cannot yet be fully understood from where you stand today. Everything genuinely aligned with your future requires space in order to arrive. When that space is crowded by misalignment, life begins clearing it piece by piece. The universe is not removing blessings from your hands out of cruelty. It is making room for something your current circumstances could never contain. What appears to be an ending is quietly becoming the foundation for a beginning. Your soul has been preparing to receive long before your personality became aware of it. There is also another truth becoming impossible to ignore. A former version of yourself has reached the end of its purpose. Even if part of you continues reaching backward toward familiar patterns, you have already outgrown the identity that accepted less than your spirit deserved. You have outgrown the silence that kept your voice hidden whenever it needed to be heard. You have outgrown the habit of shrinking your own light simply to make others feel comfortable around you. That version cannot continue walking beside the person you are becoming now. Deep within your heart, you can already sense it fading away, and although releasing it may feel unfamiliar, it is creating the very opening through which the next chapter of your journey is preparing to enter. If what you have been carrying lately feels unfamiliar, if an unshakable sense of discomfort seems to follow you no matter where you go, do not rush to believe that something has gone wrong. The feeling that has been quietly growing inside you is not evidence that your life is falling apart. It is evidence that the identity you have depended upon for so long is gradually losing its hold. From the perspective of the mind, this can feel unsettling because the personality naturally clings to what is familiar, even when that familiarity no longer serves your highest path. You may even wonder whether you are becoming someone you no longer recognize. Yet beneath that uncertainty, something far more extraordinary is taking place. You are not disappearing. You are finally uncovering the version of yourself that existed long before expectations, conditioning, fear, and survival taught you to become someone else. That authentic self has remained patiently beneath every role you performed, beneath every compromise you accepted, beneath every belief that convinced you to live smaller than your spirit desired. Many people misunderstand this stage because they spend their lives expecting transformation to arrive with dramatic signs that cannot possibly be overlooked. They imagine a single unforgettable event that instantly changes everything. Yet genuine miracles rarely announce themselves that way. More often, they begin so quietly that they can almost be mistaken for ordinary thoughts. They arrive through a subtle adjustment in perception, through an unexpected realization that seems to appear from nowhere, through a calm certainty that replaces endless questioning, through a decision your heart suddenly understands before your mind has time to explain it. These moments may appear insignificant when viewed individually, but each one builds upon the last until an entirely different reality begins taking shape around you. Without realizing exactly when it happened, you discover that your life is no longer moving in the same direction because something fundamental inside you has already changed. That is exactly where you stand now. You have reached the delicate space between two realities, the place where one chapter quietly closes while another patiently begins forming beneath the surface. You are standing at the threshold where your former way of living gradually releases its influence, and your future identity begins anchoring itself into every part of your awareness. Once this inner transformation fully settles into place, there is no meaningful path back toward the person you once believed yourself to be. Even if nostalgia occasionally tempts you to return, that earlier version has already begun dissolving beyond recovery. Every authentic awakening eventually reaches a point where an invisible line is crossed, where your consciousness expands so completely that reversing the process becomes impossible. Whether you can describe it to anyone else or not, that irreversible turning point has already begun unfolding within you. Perhaps you'll struggle to explain these changes to the people closest to you because the experience feels larger than language itself. You may not possess all the answers yet your entire relationship with life has already started evolving. The way you perceive other people no longer feels the same. You notice intentions that once escaped your attention. You sense emotional currents beneath ordinary conversations. Your understanding of your own history begins changing as well. Memories that once defined you now appear from a completely different perspective. Situations that previously caused overwhelming emotional reactions gradually lose their grip, while possibilities that once seemed impossible suddenly feel surprisingly natural. None of this reflects confusion or instability. It reflects expansion. Your awareness is stretching beyond the boundaries that previously limited it, allowing you to perceive life from an entirely different frequency. Once consciousness reaches this level, the old reality can no longer contain it. A new energetic state begins calling you forward, and that higher frequency naturally requires a more authentic version of yourself to exist within it. Perhaps you have also noticed another remarkable change unfolding. Your intuition has become stronger than it has ever been before. What once appeared as an occasional inner whisper has gradually transformed into a clear and persistent presence that refuses to remain silent. There are moments when you somehow sense events before they unfold. You begin feeling emotional energy before a single word is spoken. Certain truths settle inside you without requiring evidence or external confirmation. This is one of the profound influences carried by the moon as it moves through Pisces, strengthening your connection with dimensions of awareness that exist beyond ordinary perception. It heightens your ability to recognize what cannot always be seen, encouraging you to trust impressions that emerge from beneath the surface rather than relying exclusively upon visible circumstances. Yet this extraordinary gift also presents a meaningful decision. Each intuitive message asks whether you will believe what your inner wisdom reveals or whether you will surrender that knowing to doubt. Every moment you dismiss your intuition, you temporarily separate yourself from the deeper power already living within you. The universe is not creating uncertainty simply to test your patience. It is continually offering direction, but its guidance can only become as clear as your willingness to receive it. The sensations moving through you right now are not meaningless, emotional fluctuations. They are signals pointing toward the path your soul has already recognized. At the same time, this changing energy refuses to protect illusions that no longer belong in your life. Structures that once seemed permanent begin exposing hidden weaknesses. Truths carefully concealed beneath appearances gradually rise into full view. beliefs you accepted without question slowly dissolve as deeper understanding replaces them. Experiencing this can be emotionally overwhelming because illusions often provide temporary comfort, while truth asks for genuine transformation. Yet authentic reality has nothing to fear from exposure. Only what lacks integrity struggles to survive the light. Pisces does not encourage prolonged spiritual sleep. Instead, it gently removes every veil that once obscured your vision, whether you feel completely prepared for that unveiling or not. Part of your personality may resist these revelations because change naturally challenges familiarity. Yet another part of you experiences unexpected relief because somewhere within, you always sense that certain aspects of your life never truly reflected who you were becoming. That quiet knowing has now become impossible to deny. There was once a season when your past appeared to define every choice you made. Old experiences, emotional wounds, and identities formed through painful memories may have felt like permanent chains attached to your future. But the tide has begun shifting. The emotional weight those memories carried is gradually becoming lighter. Circumstances that once triggered immediate reactions no longer possess the same intensity they once held. This does not erase the significance of your past. It simply means your history is no longer controlling your present moment. As the moon travels through Pisces, its energy moves across the timeline of your emotional life, like an endless ocean current, gently dissolving the invisible attachments that kept you anchored to outdated versions of yourself. You are not abandoning your memories. You are releasing the authority they once exercised over your identity. Within that release, a remarkable amount of inner space becomes available, creating fertile ground where something entirely new can begin growing. There is an unmistakable force encouraging you to continue moving forward, whether you describe it as a pull, a pressure, or an invisible current that refuses to let you remain where you are. This movement does not originate outside of you. It arises from the deepest level of your own soul, calling you toward the life your spirit has always intended to experience. Even if the details remain hidden, you can already sense that future drawing nearer, like a distant light becoming brighter with every passing day. Every ending, every unexpected change, every painful detour has quietly guided you toward this direction. Nothing you endured has been meaningless. Nothing has been wasted. Even your greatest struggles have served as preparation, strengthening qualities within you that could not have developed any other way. Now the road ahead is beginning to reveal itself with increasing clarity, asking only that you continue walking. As this transformation deepens, another experience may become impossible to ignore. Certain relationships begin feeling different. Conversations no longer carry the same energy they once did. Connections that previously seemed effortless may now feel strangely distant or difficult to maintain. This is not evidence that you are becoming isolated. It is evidence that you are becoming more deeply aligned with your authentic path. Not everyone who walked beside you during earlier chapters is meant to accompany you into what comes next. Accepting this truth can be emotionally challenging because growth often changes the environments where we once felt comfortable. Yet you are not truly losing people. You are naturally moving beyond spaces that can no longer nurture the person you are becoming. Relationships meant for your future will never require you to diminish your light, constantly defend your evolution, or repeatedly apologize for your growth. Those connections will recognize your transformation because they are evolving alongside you. This entire process was never meant to be controlled through force or endless analysis. It is meant to be lived, experienced, and trusted. Every emotion surfacing within you carries purpose. There may be moments when breathtaking clarity suddenly fills your awareness, followed by waves of uncertainty that seem equally powerful. There may be periods of profound inner peace interrupted by unexpected emotional intensity. Such movement reflects the natural rhythm of Pisces itself, fluid, expansive, compassionate, and profoundly transformative. Fighting these currents only creates unnecessary suffering. Moving with them allows their wisdom to unfold naturally. When you permit yourself to experience every feeling without fear or judgment, the deeper purpose hidden beneath those emotions gradually becomes visible. They have never arrived to destroy your spirit. They have arrived to reshape your capacities so that you can fully receive everything preparing to enter your life. Whether you recognize it yet or not, you stand closer than ever before to the breakthrough your heart has quietly anticipated for so long. Evidence surrounds you in countless subtle ways, within the changes unfolding inside your awareness, within the unmistakable sense that life no longer feels exactly the same, within the quiet certainty that something significant has already begun. The distance between your present reality and the future waiting for you continues shrinking faster than your logical mind can measure. Beneath the visible surface, countless alignments are already unfolding. Invisible forces are gradually arranging circumstances in your favor. Continue remaining present. Continue paying attention, because this is only the opening movement of something far greater than you can currently imagine. Even when nothing appears to be happening externally, unseen transformations continue with extraordinary precision. Your reality is being reorganized beyond the reach of ordinary perception. Pathways are quietly opening before your footsteps ever arrive. Meaningful conversations begin taking shape long before voices speak them aloud. Opportunities are forming in silence before they become visible in the physical world. Although your eyes cannot yet witness every movement taking place behind the veil, everything is steadily aligning with remarkable accuracy, preparing the next stage of your journey long before it finally reveals itself. Everything unfolding around you is moving according to a rhythm that cannot be accelerated by effort or delayed by fear. This is the quiet intelligence of divine timing. It never competes with urgency, and it never bends to impatience. Instead, it reveals each piece of your journey only when every unseen element has reached the exact point where it can support what is about to emerge. If your life appears calm on the outside while something powerful stirs within you, do not mistake that stillness for inactivity. Beneath what seems motionless, countless invisible movements are taking place with extraordinary precision. Every conversation, every opportunity, every lesson, every unexpected delay is finding its proper place within a design far greater than your conscious mind can presently understand. You are not standing outside that design, waiting to be invited into it. You are already at its very center. The season you are living through is much more than a temporary transition between one chapter and another. It is an invitation to discover whether your trust has grown strong enough to carry you where certainty cannot. This moment is not measuring your endurance or asking you to prove your worth. Instead, it quietly asks deeper questions that only your heart can answer. Can you continue walking even when the destination remains hidden beyond the horizon? Can you honor the wisdom of your intuition while your logical mind continues demanding evidence before it believes? Can you loosen your grip on absolute control when every instinct within you longs for guarantees? These are the silent examinations unfolding within your spirit, because the future already moving toward you requires a depth of faith unlike anything you have practiced before. The universe has never demanded perfection from you. It has never expected flawless decisions or complete understanding. What it asks instead is far more profound. It asks whether you are willing to continue trusting the unfolding process even while it dismantles assumptions you once believed could never change. Every period of genuine expansion awakens fear before it reveals freedom. This does not happen because something dangerous is approaching. It happens because the familiar structure supporting your old identity begins giving way to something larger. The hesitation you notice, the questions that suddenly arise, the voice wondering whether you possess everything necessary for the next chapter. None of these are signals telling you to retreat. They are evidence that you have reached the boundary separating comfort from transformation. Fear often becomes the final guardian, standing between the life you have already lived and the life your soul has quietly prepared to embrace. If you pause long enough to observe this emotion honestly, you may notice that it carries a different quality than ordinary fear. It does not resemble the instinct warning you of genuine danger. Instead, it feels like standing before an immense landscape that stretches farther than your eyes can fully comprehend. It carries intensity, expectation, and the unmistakable awareness that something extraordinary waits just beyond the edge of what is familiar. That sensation is not asking you to turn around. It is revealing the entrance to an entirely new stage of your evolution. Beneath everything visible, another version of yourself has already begun rising into awareness. This emerging self carries a quiet strength that no longer depends upon external approval. It possesses a clarity capable of recognizing truth even when circumstances appear uncertain. It naturally gravitates toward experiences that honor its value instead of accepting less than it deserves. It no longer feels compelled to diminish its own light simply to make others feel comfortable. Instead, it moves through life with calm confidence, guided by an inner certainty that requires no constant reassurance. You may not yet recognize this version every time you look in the mirror, yet you can sense its presence becoming more tangible with each passing day. It feels less like creating someone entirely new and more like remembering someone who has patiently waited beneath years of expectation and conditioning. This is not an identity you must struggle to invent. It is the authentic expression of who you have always been beneath everything the world encouraged you to become. Every meaningful transformation eventually reaches a moment when the previous structure can no longer contain what is emerging. There comes a point where maintaining familiar patterns demands more energy than releasing them. You may be approaching that very threshold now, where holding tightly to the past feels heavier than allowing yourself to move forward, where remaining unchanged becomes far more uncomfortable than embracing the unknown. Although this experience can appear overwhelming, it should never be mistaken for failure. It represents the beginning of breakthrough. The pressure you feel is not evidence that your foundation is collapsing without purpose. It is the natural consequence of illusions losing their ability to sustain themselves. As those illusions dissolve completely, truth rises with undeniable clarity. Suddenly, the direction that once appeared uncertain becomes the only path that genuinely reflects who you are becoming. The emotional intensity accompanying this realization may seem powerful, yet it also marks the instant when circumstances quietly begin reorganizing themselves in your favor. Throughout this entire journey, the universe has continued communicating with you in ways that grow increasingly difficult to overlook. At first, those messages appeared almost imperceptibly, a repeating pattern here, a meaningful coincidence there, a conversation arriving precisely when you needed it most. Over time, the signals became more distinct. Encounters unfolded with timing too remarkable to dismiss. Certain themes continued returning despite every attempt to explain them away through logic alone. You may have questioned these experiences, convincing yourself they meant nothing, only to watch them appear again with even greater clarity. None of these moments have been accidental. They form a language far older than words themselves. The universe often communicates through patterns, through synchronicities, through events carrying a sense of unmistakable significance that reaches beyond ordinary explanation. Those messages are now becoming increasingly direct, gently but persistently, pointing toward a specific direction prepared uniquely for you. The issue is no longer whether those signs truly exist. The deeper question has become whether you are willing to trust where they are leading. Alongside these revelations, another quiet transformation has begun unfolding inside you. You may notice yourself gradually releasing attachments that once seemed impossible to let go of. Outcomes that previously consumed your thoughts no longer carry the same emotional weight. Expectations built upon fear begin softening. Certain relationships naturally lose their hold. Identities you spent years protecting suddenly feel too small for the person you are becoming. This is not emotional distance or indifference. It is the unmistakable clarity that arrives when your soul recognizes what genuinely belongs within your life and what no longer reflects your highest alignment. You are discovering that you no longer wish to invest your energy in circumstances that continually drain your spirit, limit your potential, or anchor you to realities that no longer match your inner growth. Sometimes this release happens so quietly that you hardly notice it until much later. At other times, it arrives with remarkable intensity, asking you to surrender everything at once. Both experiences serve the same purpose. Every attachment you courageously release creates an opening where something deeply aligned can finally enter. You now stand before a threshold, unlike any you have crossed before. It is a place from which returning to your previous way of living becomes increasingly impossible. Yet this threshold is not defined by one dramatic event. It is formed through countless realizations gathering together over time. Every decision, every shift in perspective, every moment of inner honesty has quietly contributed to this crossing. You can feel its presence in the way your thoughts have changed, in the way your reactions have softened, in the completely different relationship you now have with your own future. As these realizations continue unfolding, something remarkable begins happening. Experiences that once appeared chaotic gradually reveal their hidden purpose. Confusion slowly gives way to understanding. Questions that seemed impossible to answer begin resolving themselves without force. Standing within this awareness, you finally recognize something your heart has suspected all along. You were never truly lost. Every detour, every unexpected ending has brought you precisely to the place where you were always meant to stand. Even now, the atmosphere surrounding your life carries a quality unlike anything you have recently experienced. There is an unmistakable sense of movement, possibility, and quiet expectation filling the space around you. This is the energetic field created when miracles begin activating through alignment rather than through spectacle. They do not always appear as sudden dramatic events that instantly transform everything overnight. More often, they reveal themselves through perfectly timed connections, through unmistakable clarity, replacing uncertainty, through pathways opening exactly where obstacles once seemed permanent. This energy never forces outcomes into existence. Instead, it carefully arranges the conditions where what once appeared impossible gradually becomes the most natural result imaginable. The more deeply you align yourself with this unfolding current, the more willingly you trust its direction and the more courageously you continue moving with it instead of resisting it. The more clearly you begin recognizing a profound truth that has quietly waited beneath every experience. What you once believed to be extraordinary miracles are often nothing more than the inevitable expression of a life that has finally come into complete alignment with the person you have always been meant to become. There is one more layer that must fall away before you fully step into what is meant for you. One final release that may feel heavier than anything before it. It may come in the form of a realization you cannot ignore, a truth you can no longer avoid, or a situation that forces you to choose differently than you ever have. This is the final clearing, the last piece of resistance leaving your system. It may feel intense because it touches something deep, something you have carried for a long time. But understand this clearly. It is not here to break you. It is here to free you. Once this layer dissolves, there will be nothing left holding you back from the path that has been calling you all along. What is happening right now is not just change. It is reclamation. You are taking back parts of yourself that were lost, suppressed, or given away without realizing it. Your voice, your clarity, your sense of direction, your ability to trust yourself without hesitation. This power does not come from external validation. It comes from within, from a place that has always existed but is now being awakened. You are remembering who you are, not as a concept but as a lived reality. And as this power returns to you, you will begin to move differently, think differently, and choose differently in ways that reshape your entire life. There is a new reality forming around you, one that operates on a different frequency than the one you have known. In this reality, things flow with less resistance. Clarity replaces confusion, and alignment replaces struggle. This does not mean there will be no challenges, but the way you experience them will change. You will no longer feel trapped within circumstances. You will feel guided through them. This reality is not separate from you. It is created through your alignment with your true self. And as you continue to release what no longer serves you, this new reality becomes not just possible, but inevitable. There is a moment coming very soon where everything will make sense in a way it never has before. The confusion, the delays, the unexpected turns, all of it will align into a clear understanding of why things unfolded the way they did. This clarity will not come from external explanations. It will come from within, like a sudden knowing that settles into your entire being. When this moment arrives, you will feel a sense of peace that goes beyond words because you will see the bigger picture, the path that was always guiding you even when you could not see it. As this clarity settles in, a door will open, an opportunity, a connection, or a path that was not available to you before. This door is not random. It is the result of everything you have moved through, everything you have released, everything you have become. It will feel aligned, natural, and undeniable, like something you were always meant to step into. But stepping through this door will require you to fully trust yourself, to leave behind any remaining doubt, and to move forward without hesitation. Because what lies beyond it is the next chapter of your life, one that is waiting for you to claim it. Everything you have experienced, every challenge, every shift, every moment of doubt and clarity has been leading you to this point. Your destiny is not something distant or unreachable. It is something that has been forming alongside you, waiting for the moment when you are ready to meet it. And that moment is now. You are no longer preparing. You are no longer waiting. You are stepping into it. This is where your path becomes clear, where your purpose begins to take shape, where your life aligns in ways that once felt impossible. There is a shift that happens when you fully align with your path. The universe begins to move with you instead of against you. Synchronicities increase, obstacles begin to dissolve, and things start to fall into place with a sense of ease that feels almost surreal. This is not luck. This is alignment. You are no longer forcing your way forward. You are moving in harmony with the energy that has always been guiding you. And as you continue on this path, you will begin to notice that what once felt difficult now feels natural. What once felt uncertain now feels clear.